And what we celebrate is the fact that that land is not something futurized or something extended off in some afterlife, but it is the here and the now. And it is our privilege and our opportunity and our soul's calling to awaken to that. And that's why we're here. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why we continue to show up. We were illuminated many, many years ago by Albert Einstein when he put in layman's terms, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So that means that energy is what? Is. Don't you love the word is? Can I get a is? Oh, Victoria got in me, so I'm going to a little bit today. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed because it just is. And so the isness of this energy, and we understand that everything is energy. So let's do some deductive reasoning. So it can neither be created nor destroyed. It is. It has an eternality, no beginning, no end. It's everything. Everything is energy. You are energy. Your thought is energy. The world of nature is energy. Breath is energy. The vibration with all the density of everything that makes up a building is energy. Everything is energy. And so if it simply is, then what we begin to understand about that is the fact that when we are trying to create energy, or when we're trying to change energy, or when we are allowing someone else's energy to be the dictate of our happiness, meaning that I can't be happy until they change their energy. And their energy just is. Right? It's called acceptance. And so one of the things about acceptance is that when we truly learn to accept someone for who they are, totally, when our happiness isn't contingent upon whether or not they change their behavior, when our happiness isn't futurized. So for example, right now I'm in the Art of Happiness weekend retreat at the Art of Living. And so right after this, I have to run back for my final 3 hours. And so Friday night, we were told about this piece about acceptance and the fact that when we look at happiness and the way in which we imprison other people to be responsible for that for us, and wanting them to change their energy just is. And so if we can accept that, then we stop getting into this cycle. So when we're 16, we say we will be happy when we get our driver's license. And then at 18, we say we will be happy when we can get out of this house and get away from these people and go to college. Then I'll be happy. And then we go to college and we say, I will be happy when I graduate and get out of this place so I don't have to study anymore and I can be an adult. And then we become adult and we say, I will be happy when I find my soulmate and they will complete me. And then we say, I will be happy once my soulmate and I procreate and we bring into being people who look like us. And then we say, I will be happy when these things that look like us leave. And then we say we will be happy when those things that look like us procreate and bring more that look like us so we can be grandparents. And then we say we'll be happy when, and then the cycle never ends. So happiness then becomes this extended thing in the future when what we know is that the energy of happiness is. It's all around us. Just like love is, freedom is. And so when I'm making you responsible for my being happy, I am misdirecting that energy. Because you and I are deliberate creators most of the time. Other times we're creators by default, meaning that we're not really conscious of the decisions that we're making. We're not conscious of the way in which you're directing that energy. So we get boomeranged back to us the manifestation of our unconsciousness. But if I wake up, or how you pay me or don't pay me, or how you love me or don't love me, when I realize that it just is, then I began to move into our month's theme of accountability, and I fully realize and understand and it works for me to the degree that I'm aware and conscious of my power to move it and to direct it and to choose by the quality and the practice of my thought. Simple, easy. Let's go home. Right? There's nothing more than that. What becomes complicated is the density of illusion that tells us repeatedly, day after day, news cycle after news cycle, that that's not true. That you and I are helpless, and that we must fight for these particular things because these things are going to come in the middle of the night and sweep us away. And if I believe that, then some form of something will come in the middle of the night and sweep me away, because energy responds to my thought. But if I take back my power, if I say, I'm not waiting for someone else to change in order for me to be happy, I'm going to choose that now. I'm not going to wait for someone to love me before I love them. I'm not going to take my protective, cared-for heart and expose it to you on the off chance that you might take it, rip it, throw it, stomp it, squish it. I'm just going to say, here I am. Take it or leave it. Love it or not. But whatever you do and whatever you decide has no bearing whatsoever on my worth. Now, wouldn't it be great if I thought like that 100% of the time? Oh my God, I gave a corporate talk in Oregon and I got the reviews back this week. And I was like, what? What do you mean 4% didn't like me? Forget the 96%. What do you mean 4? Forget the 96% who just loved it, but those 4, like, I want names. I was like, practice. Look at the comments and go, okay, that has validity. I could change that. I could tweak that. I could move that. I could alter that. That makes sense. Thanks. But if I'm so consumed with what other people think, then I've given you my accountability. I've made you responsible for my actions and my alignment. And what we understand is that we are on this mental path of expansion and exploration, this soul's assignment for one singular thing, and it is to open ourselves up to the most maximum, to whatever it is that we are able to receive with regards to ownership of that which is God as us, through us, in us, speaking, acting continuously, that becomes our job. And so in this particular weekend, you know, I'm back in the yoga positions for 45 minutes, and I'm lotusing myself. And I'm noticing in my lotusing when my eyes are supposed to be closed, but yet I'm peeking to see how much other people's legs are over, and I'm like, wow. And I'm comparing myself, and I'm thinking, I'll be happy when I can do that. No, my happiness is here. when we are doing these breathing things and everything is set up to detoxify, isn't detoxification fun? And I'm breathing and these electric currents are going through my body and I'm so uncomfortable and I just want it to end. And I'm detoxifying. I'm resetting. And I'm realizing that I can actually choose to be in this moment. We can choose to be happy even in the detoxification of our old mindset. And what happens is when we stay in that present moment, as we continue to take responsibility of self, when I stop putting my well-being into your hands and I take it back, then I become more and more clear about what my values are. And as we look at today about aligning those values and putting those values to action, we understand then that when I move into that place of clarity, and when I understand that there is no finish line to this, that none of us will ever reach or cross some definitive end point where we will say, got it, I'm done. But that we will continually spiral up and evolve. I was remembering a conversation with Michael Beckwith on his radio show, and we were talking about those words, I know that already. And he goes, ooh, that was such a painful one for me. He said, I was 23, 24, I was in my first Science of Mind class, and the professor was talking, and we were talking about some kind of quantum analysis and the way in which the field of the all is there. And he said, I remember raising my hand and boastfully saying, oh yeah, I know that. And then the teacher just stopped talking and just stood there. And Michael was looking around going, what's happening here? And he said, what's going on? And he goes, oh, well, you know this already, so I thought I'd let you just go ahead and finish the class. And so he said, I learned from that point that none of us know everything already. And that's the beautiful thing about a value, is that the thing that you cherish and hold as a value today and that you begin to put action to, those values will begin to morph and change as you change. The more of that education, the more of that internal wisdom continues to open up that is there, the isness of that opens up, the more that those values begin to expand and to become particularized in the way in which we show up in the world. And so we have this formula. There's this formula of self-awareness plus self-forgiveness. So to be self-aware means that I get about the isness of that which is God. My self-forgiveness then is all of the times that I have miscalculated that. If we go back to the opening of this month about accountability, I said accountability is like responsibility. And responsibility, when you look at the root of that word, ra, means again, and then the other part, the root of that meant to pledge, to spondere, the root. So to repledge over and over and over again. That's what accountability is. I keep repledging. And as I move into that, as I understand that, I forgive myself for all the times that I didn't know that, for all the times that I had a miscalculation. And I begin to accept self. The beautiful thing about accepting other people where they are and not waiting on them to change in order to be happy is that I'm actually finally able to accept myself. So self-awareness plus self-forgiveness plus establishing my values. This is what's important to me. And then bringing accountability to those values equals this conscious evolving life. And that becomes the formula by which we move towards. And so as we begin to understand and look at that and decide and to determine what our values are, then we want to put action into those things. And Ernest Holmes reminded us that on this path, to never forget your individuality, to be completely aware of the poison of imitation. And he said this, do not adopt the letter of my teaching. This founder of this teaching said, do not adopt the letter of my teaching, but the spirit of this teaching. And you will find, as I did, that you will begin to formulate a system that is true for you. He said, I learned for me, and you must learn for yourself, that you must develop your own faith and confidence in your own interpretation of God, humanity, and the universe. And how are you going to find that? How are you going to develop that? Are you going to develop that while waiting for somebody else to change? Let me ask you this. How is that formula working? I'll be happy when you change. All right, I'm going to wait. I don't accept you as you are. So are those people running out to change their behavior in order to meet your criteria? How's that working for you? Okay? And so when I began to look at that and understand that and realize that's not working for me, as I sit in this beautiful arena of detoxification this weekend and look at what is mine to do, I was reminded as I was sharing with Dr. Will Coleman in a brief moment on Friday that what is ours to do is to mind our own business. So mind, a little too rowdy over here. So we're all about mind, right? Mind your own business. Bring your mind to your business and not the business of other people. And so in that small pocket of sunshine this weekend and between the training, I ran home so that I could mow my yard and clean my yard up. And I'm cleaning my yard up, and I'm struck by the metaphor of clean up your own backyard. And so when I'm holding other people accountable, when I'm making them responsible, my focus is entirely on what they're not doing. And if I really want to be happy, if I really want to be at peace, if I want to be in the now, then the best thing that I can do in my accountability, in aligning my values and action, is to clean up my own business, to clean up my own yard, to do what it is that is mine to do, rather than postulating and pointing fingers and blaming, because that's an easy thing to deflect. Let me put the responsibility on you. Let me put my unhappiness on you. So here's the trick. You can be happy now, because happiness is. It's like going shopping for happiness. And there's the store, and the store's called happiness. And on the shelf, there are these things called happiness that you can put in a cart, and the cart holds happiness, and you go in and you say, do you have Scotch tape? I don't know where that joke just came from, but it was lame. So, but it's like trying to search for anything else but that when it's obvious right in front of our face. It's the same thing we do with this idea of heaven. That heaven is some futurized place, when heaven is a state of mind. And then when these things become sort of bumper sticker wisdom or cliche, and we say heaven is now, it's a cliche because it's true. And truth gets repeated over and over and over again. But it isn't until we have the aha moment and we fall metaphorically on our knees to that truth and we go, I get that heaven is now because I'm feeling in hell. Only then does that heaven have any kind of sensibility. And so to clean up our own backyard, to look at these things and to understand and to know what is ours to do, is to become accountable to that value. What I would love is to make a suggestion, and that would be that in your value system, at least be this. self-awareness. Self-awareness. That as you go about your acquisition of things and of expansion and growth and career and family and doing whatever it is that you need to do, that you place in your value system the ability to understand why you do what you do, what your triggers are, why you think the way that you think, to become self-aware of you. And remember a few weeks ago I said, say I'm available to that. The most powerful mantra that any of us could repeat is, I'm available. And I reminded and I said, if you're genuine about that, sincere, then watch out. Because everything that is necessary to support you in being self-aware will show up. And so I'm just inviting you into a mass detoxification. Because it won't be comfortable 100% of the time. There will be lots of comparison. There will be lots of self-doubt, but there will also be lots of amazing aha moments and breakthroughs. There will be clarity that will come while you're shampooing your hair. There will be things, and if you're bald, same thing. There will be moments of insight. There will be communication that will seem to come out of the blue, but we realize that nothing comes out of the blue. It's just revealed to us in the moment that we're ready to receive it. That's what happens when you say, I'm available to self-awareness. The people that you need to speak to, the path that you need to trod, all of those things open up and begin the moment that we make ourselves available to that. And the detoxification, the letting go in order to be open, to create space for something new, isn't always comfortable. As we enter into our book club, as I was creating the lesson for week 1 that you're going to experience next week with Brene Brown's book, Rising Strong, she had this section in the beginning that was called Civilization Ends at the Waterline. And what she was doing, she was quoting Hunter Thompson, who was one of those renegade journalists. And Hunter Thompson said, civilization ends at the waterline. Beyond that, we all enter into the food chain. Not always right at the top. And it simply meant that what we call civilization, or what we frame that in our minds sometimes, is what we're familiar with. I'm familiar with me, I'm familiar with my habits, I'm familiar with this, and then we want to stay in the familiar. But that familiarity ends at the waterline when, have you ever looked into the mass ocean and you can't see what's underneath? But you still know you got to swim out? So I got to swim out into the unknown. I've got to let go of that which is familiar to me in order for me to expand. My self-awareness is beckoning me to move into the murky, deep water that isn't necessarily comfortable, that is requiring me to bend my knees for 30 minutes and om and chant when I'm like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? Only to go afterwards, oh. It's not always comfortable. But see, your value system isn't about staying on the shore of your familiarity. If your values for self-awareness are authentic, it's going to lead you and I into places that are beyond our comfort zone. But let me remind you, that's what you are designed for. You and I are designed to move beyond this rigidity, this stagnation, but mostly this victimization of making other people responsible for our joy. And so as we end this segment on accountability, the thing I want you to become most accountable for is your own joy, your own happiness. It isn't waiting until a particular governmental section group moves on. I tried to say that as tactfully as possible. It isn't waiting for an external hero or shero to come and do it for you. It's realizing that that which is, the energy that can neither be created nor destroyed, is here, right now. In fact, if you did this with your hands, do this with your hands. Now just pull them barely apart. You can even kind of feel that energy that is there. What are you going to do with that? That which is the non-physical, as well as that which is the physical. How are you going to blend that? Use that? Channel that? The choice is ours. And so it is. Hi, I'm Rev Ault, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, and there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.